So Putin, under the Trump administration, Putin never wanted to give America Russian Arctic energy to prop up America's Exxon Industries with joint ventures 50-50 of pumping Russian energy to the rest of the world. Putin didn't want to give away and make America's petrodollar that much powerful. So what Putin had in mind was just to sabotage Trump's administration, because Putin realized he can manipulate the narrow-mindedness of Trump's lack of strategic intelligence when it comes to international foreign affairs. So Trump used Putin used Trump to undermine the European Union, to undermine America's national politics, and to fracture Ukraine for a second invasion. Because you got to understand, the when Russia told when Putin's intel told Trump that Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, had a stolen server with Hunter Biden's dirt on the Biden family, in reality, what Putin was doing is undermining Ukraine and softening up Ukraine for a second invasion, using Trump as a dim-witted uh, buffoon, thinking that there was a stolen server in Ukraine and somehow it had dirt on Hunter Biden. And in reality, Putin was just using that to get Trump to blackmail Zelensky and stop the flow of weapons into Ukraine. Because Putin, knowing that Trump would do that over the stolen server, will give Putin the advantage to invade Ukraine for the second invasion. But what Putin never had intended to prop up America's oil industry and prop up America's petrol status with a petrodollar. Putin wanted to undermine the petrodollar, and Putin was using Trump as America's Achilles heel, as a Manchurian candidate of narrow-minded ignorant that he is, that he doesn't have foresight to understand the strategic moves of geopolitics. That's what Putin seen in Trump, America's dim-witted leader. So, under the Trump administration, Putin invited Exxon and BP into the Russian Arctic, knowing that Farage and Trump would start to undermine the European Union over it. They thought that they was going to undermine Trump and Farage from Britain, thought that they was going to get rich by supplying joint venture of Arctic Russian energy with Exxon pipelines that would have ran through Ukraine and bypassed the Nord Stream 2 and Nord Stream 1 of Germany's pipelines. And it would have flowed Russian energy that would have been flowing from the Russian Arctic with Exxon pipelines and BP flooding energy to Western Europe. So Farage thought that the Brexit movement was to undermine the economical leverage of the European Union, meaning through Davos, Germany and France economically are more powerful than Britain. So Farage thought that under the Trump administration that he could have made with BP make Britain that much richer and crippled the Germany economy by undermining Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 with Trump tariffs on the German government and on the French government. So the you got to understand, Putin never he lured Rex Tillerson and Trump into the Russian Arctic just to cause all this to unravel, meaning the American national politics and the European Union. And Trump, for a second term, said that he will let Russia have at the European Union because supposedly they don't pay their fair share. NATO doesn't pay their fair share. So somehow Trump is going to stop sending weapons to Zelensky in Ukraine on his second term, and somehow he would allow Russia to attack NATO. He said he will let Russia have at them. He will insist for Russia to have at them. Because Trump is compromised. So at this point, Trump knows how he colluded with Rex Tillerson in the Russian Arctic. So he's afraid because Putin has a political guillotine over Trump's head if Putin was to reveal the backroom dealings of Trump and Rex Tillerson in the Russian Arctic. So Trump doesn't want to cross Putin in any which way because it will be political suicide because Putin has that much compromise on Trump in the Russian Arctic. When Trump vetted out the Robert Mueller report and said that there was no Russian collusion, he was lying through his teeth. Trump was colluding with Exxon in the Russian Arctic. And he knew that. Trump knows that to this very day. He's afraid of crossing Putin in a negative way or uttering anything negative towards Putin out of his mouth when it comes to politics. So Trump has always been compromised by Putin. And he's basically Putin's putz. Putin plays him as America's Achilles heel, or as European Union Achilles heel, and Putin has Trump in his pocket. So this is all the intel of the truth of what was going on under the Trump administration when he was in the Oval Office. This is and the Democrats turned a blind eye to it because they didn't want Exxon or the American energy market or America's petrodollar to be collapsed. America didn't want to publicly disclose Trump's Russian collusion in the Arctic because they would have panicked the American energy markets and it would have undermined the American well-reserved petrodollar status. So the Democrats were too afraid to speak truth to words of what Trump was doing with Rex Tillerson and ExxonMobil in the Russian Arctic and the true colluding of Trump and Russia for the love of oil under the Trump administration. That's how corrupt Trump was, embezzling the White House for the profiteering of his oil lobbyist interests. And it's about the truth. It's about time that the Democrat speaks truth to words about how Trump is so corrupt with Russia for the love of oil.